What about for you? I'm curious for you what greatness means for you.
Yeah, well, it's pretty similar. You were talking about giving it your all. I would phrase it as putting your head on the pillow at night, knowing that you did do everything that you wanted to do or that you said you would do. So being your word. So for me, being my word to myself and to others is super important. I really feel like that's great. So if I say I'm going to do it, I do it, and whether that's
Yep.
the promise I make to myself or to others. Now, doesn't mean that you don't have challenges. So I just want to clear that up. And people go, "Oh, what if you make an appointment or whatever, and you just can't be there?" So the extra thing on being your word is, as soon as you realize that you can't be your word, you get into communication as soon as possible and recommit to something. So it wouldn't be like, "Oh, sorry, Nick, I can't do the interview today." It's like, "Nick, I've got to apologize. I can't do the interview today. And the reason why is this. And let's reschedule for this date and let's make it easier for you at a time that suits you because I'm the one that is going to break my word this time." So I found if you get into communication straight away and you recommit and make it easy for the person that you are impacting, that is greatness to me. Because if that happens in personal and business life, things really, really work. And it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, I would say too, that's something I definitely struggle with in terms of like, saying things and, making sure I commit to them just because as someone who does a lot, right? Like that's one of the caveats there. And I would say to anyone listening who maybe also feels like they're in that boat, something that helps me is always doing my best to incorporate others. So for example, one of the examples I give in the book is I talking about, if I tell myself in the morning, you know what, I'm going to call my grandma at 6, and then 5:30 rolls around and I'm making dinner, and it's 5:45 and I'm watching my show, and then 6 rolls around and I'm still eating and finishing my show. I'm like, oh, I'll call her at 6:30, right? And then 6:30 comes around, like, oh, I'm gonna get some homework done, and then you know what, I'll call in the morning. But if I text my grandma, hey, I'm gonna call you at 6, like you can be damn sure I'm gonna call her at 6 because she's gonna be like, Nick, why didn't you call? Like she's gonna be so disappointed if I don't actually call. So
Yeah.
having some accountability, I found, helps me a lot as someone who can struggle with that at times.
It's a great personal development principle, accountability. And that's why if you have a gym buddy or you do group fitness classes, that's why that works.
Hmm.
And you having a structure of accountability, even if it's just telling people what you're going to do, that means you're accountable. That definitely helps you achieve more greatness in your life. Now, the paradoxical thing about it is we avoid accountability and responsibility as human beings.
Absolutely.
Being human has so many paradoxes, and that's one of them.
Yeah, I think like the second anything hard happens, right? Our first response is always, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to get this done? Right? Like I'm going to put my head down and just like lock in here. A lot of my friends use the term lock in, right? And they're like, oh, I got X amount of assignments due. I'm gonna Don't talk to me. I'm gonna get this done. It's like humans are the greatest resource we have
Mm.
in so many aspects, and doing your best to not shut yourself off and think, okay, how can I utilize the people around me is so important. I call them swim buddies in the book because it's a Navy SEAL term, and they talk a lot about having someone to watch your back and hold you accountable.
Beautiful, beautiful. The thing about that springs to mind as well as we're talking is that it's an evolutionary issue that we have to deal with in that our brain and mind sometimes is designed to try and keep us safe. So that's sometimes why we don't try new things or we don't want to put ourselves out there because we have this intrinsic thing as human beings in us, like a survival instinct, is that I'm safe now, so if I don't change anything, I'll still be safe. And that's an okay theory, but that doesn't work in 2025 when you have dreams and goals and you want to make a difference to yourself and others in the world.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear from you, as someone who's ambitious and had a little more life experience than me. How do you find the difference between saying no to something because you're scared and like you don't want to change versus saying no to something because no, like I actually, it's important for me to save my time, or like I just don't think that's right for me. Like, how do you find that distinction?
Thanks, Nick. Uh, I have a vision and a dream. And so I often have to run what I do in my life through that filter. So if it doesn't fit with that, I have to say no. Now, I don't like to say no, and I don't often say no, but I found that if I think everyone should have a vision, as mine is probably similar to yours, to empower as many people as I can in the world to make a difference through my speaking and training, to make a world a better place. If some of those invitations don't fit through that filter, I'll just have to say no. The other thing that I do is I have a coach, and I recommend everyone has a coach. All great people and sporting teams and whatnot, they have a coach. And so sometimes I can discuss these things with my coach, because you might be a little bit like me. I try and take on too many things. So
Hmm.
I really feel like I've got 10 things going on. They're all progressing a little bit. But if I cut that down to 1 to 3 things, they'll progress a lot faster. And that's been a big learning for me over the last little while. And so with my coaches and previous guest on the show, Karina Murphy, who Rise and Thrivers will remember, we've been very focused lately on saying, okay, what is the goal for this quarter? And it's okay. So once I achieve that, what's the next goal? So just focusing on one goal at a time. So as an example, my goal this quarter was to compete in the Toastmasters International Speech Contest. I did that and achieved that goal. I came third. That was great. And then, okay, what's the next goal? So instead of me going, my goal is to compete in that competition, and then I'm going to be launching my book and doing some digital marketing, and I've got to up my social media game, and I've got to fix my website. There's a few things going on there, and I've got to try and find five speaking gigs a week. You know that can just do your head in. So that's what I've found as well, to be focused on what your vision and mission is, and limit it to actions and what you're doing kind of time bound. It doesn't have to be a quarter, could be the week, could be the 2 weeks, whatever works for you, and focusing on that particular thing, you'll get more done, and it'll be a lot more satisfying, definitely less overwhelming.
Yeah, I love that. And you think about that from a business perspective too. Like, no one gets paid $1 billion to do 10 things pretty good. You get paid $1 billion to do one thing better than anybody else in the world, right? And yeah, when definitely the crux of a lot of ambitious people, like, oh, I gotta have all these things I want to do. I think especially being a college student, I can absolutely relate to that. Of it's not just that; it's also like, hey, do you want to come to this event? Do you want to come out? You want to come to In and Out right now? Do you want to do this and that and that? And finding the balance of, hey, I'm going to do these two things. I'm going to focus on this professionally. I'm going to focus on this socially, or I'm going to be saying no to things. I loved what you said.
Thanks, Nick. And also, to add to that, getting back to what we said before, how whatever happens in our lives is for a reason, and that it serves us. There's no need to beat ourselves up about where we are or where we want to be or what we have or what we haven't done. It just is what it is. And you've got the present moment, which you touched on as well. I've got a great saying that I use: wherever your hands are, be there. And you've got the present moment, and it's a beautiful moment, and do what you can do in that present moment. So you've also got to be easy on yourself, as well as taking plenty of action. It's a balance, right? It's another paradox.
I completely agree. I think that's part of the reason to be completely honest, that I kind of focused my coaching more towards young people. Was I felt sometimes there was a wall between, maybe 30 or 40-year-olds when I'm coaching them, just because I'm really young,
Yep.
and kind of accepting advice from someone younger. And that's something, anyone listening, like, I want everyone to know, like, my whole philosophy is, like, I don't have all the answers. I am not better than you. I'm just an eager learner, an eager sharer, and I love to work with everybody.
Yeah, it's a great mindset to have, and very humble. I would think, Nick, though, that you do have more awareness than the average person, and that's a gift. And you do have a motivation and ambition to learn more and share more, and that is also a gift. And I'm so happy that you are in the world using that gift, mate.
Thank you, John.
Now, you've also set up something called Hive Mentors. I really want to learn more about that.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So Hive is actually going through a big change right now. So I think it's a great mini case study in terms of business too. So Hive started in March, and the goal for Hive was, I was like, okay, if I could get paid to consult for anything, what would I want to get paid to consult for? And I was like, personal development, right? Coaching my peers, helping other people in college with their personal or professional development. And that's where it started out as. And then quickly I realized, okay, what do people really want? What will they actually pay me for? And I was like, okay, professional development. So a lot of the work within Hive, the last 6 months has been helping other college students with their LinkedIn, helping them be great networkers, helping them build their resumes, helping them build, all these foundational skills that a lot of people don't think about until they're 22, right? And it's a little too late to get that great internship or that great job. And just trying to empower them and make it easier for them. And so that's kind of how it has been going and how it started. And it was a lot of it was workshops and me going out. I spoke to a little over 500 people so far this year about that, working with the organization. And now I'm transitioning it, honestly. So I quickly realized like this is great and I really enjoy it. It's been a great opportunity for me to help people and practice speaking, but people don't really want to pay for one-on-one coaching, at least students. I've actually found that weekly one-on-one meetings with 20-year-olds, like it's actually too much of a commitment for a lot of them. And so what it was transitioning to is more of an online program. So I'm going to have a lot of resources from all my coaching, and it'll be personal and professional stuff that people can just go on to, and it'll all be free for now. I'm sure eventually I'll have some premium version of it, but the idea is that it's a much easier thing for people to access, because a lot of the reason I have so much to say today, right, is just because like I'm just consuming this information all the time. And I think it's going to be a great digital kind of flow, downflow of this stream of information that I'm taking in to pass on to other people. So that's kind of what the journey of it has been. And it's been my first experience truly as an entrepreneur. And I've learned very quickly that ideas come and go. You have this idea and you're like, I've figured it out. I'm going to be a billionaire. And you're like, nobody wants this. And so it's been a great experience, very humbling, have to move very fast. And yeah, that's kind of the overview of what it has been and kind of where it's at right now.
Nice. Well, I like the fact that you've tried something. You've seen that that's not necessarily where I wanted it to go, or the market might not be there. So, what's next? That's really important and really mature. And that's what all business people and successful people do. Try something, and the other thing that I found is that may take you somewhere you didn't realize. So it was a step and a link in the chain. Sometimes I equate it to, when I'm walking down the street, I'm here now and I want to be over there. But the thing is, I've got to take every step to get over there. And I'm going to learn something or experience something that's going to help me get over there. And you just never know where life's going to take you. My mum used to say that, and it's so true. So you might find you're setting up the hive, you're doing everything, you're giving, people are getting great benefits from it. And then who knows, someone that you help said, "Hey, Nick, I'd love you to speak. I'm now the whatever of this group, and I'd love you to come and speak." You didn't do it for
Yep.
that reason, but that was a consequence of who you are in the world. So yeah, you just never know where life's going to take you. So it sounds awesome that you're able to have that maturity to go, "This is my dream, yes, but I need to pivot a little bit and see where it takes me." That's life. That's great.
Yeah, and I was listening to the Diary of a CEO recently, and
Mm.
on the podcast, they were talking about a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck because they want to be right versus they want to be successful. Right? It's like you want your original idea to be right and be the right one. It's like, no, if you really want this to work out, you have to be very humble in terms of I'm wrong all the time and I'm going to pivot, right? Like the odds that you created $1 billion business off right off the gate, not very high. It has to pivot. And you hit the nail on the head there. Like a lot of what this has turned into is great speaking opportunities. And that's kind of what the path has turned into. And it's something I love. And I'm glad that that's where it's going. And definitely, took a lot of reflection and being humble and being okay with being wrong to
Mm.
accept that,
Mm.
opposed to being like, no, I'm going to make this work.
Yeah, the power in not having to be right is amazing. Wars are fought about people wanting to be right about stuff. It's just a thing that us as human beings have, but having the maturity and the understanding and the awareness to go, I might not always be right, and I'm willing to be open to other things and see where that takes me is massive. And that's what successful people have. So I can see why you would have that as well, my man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, a lot of it is I found a lot of business and success and all of the stuff that comes with that is ego, and like you have to try really hard to tame the ego, right? When you hit, when you're hitting 100%, right? Your ego wants to say, I'm the man, everybody look at me, I'm going to slack off. It's like, no, be humble. Or if you're really, really struggling, your ego wants to say, I suck, I'm terrible, I'm never enough. And you have to say, no, ego, like you're going to do okay. So ego is a weird thing, and something you have to work on every day, but so important to success in life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And one of the principles that I learned early that really helped me, especially in my relationships, is it's better to be kind rather than right. So you
Hmm.
can be right about something, or you can, it doesn't mean that you have to tell someone else and go, well, you're wrong and I'm right, and da da da. So, why not be kind instead? We both have particular views, and treat others with that kindness instead of that indignant that I'm right and you're wrong. But I do like what you said earlier about that you learned that people fail because they want to be right.
Yes.
That really resonates, and it's really powerful. I once saw a business entrepreneur. She was amazing in the digital space, and she sells fishing shirts for people that fish. So they're good for UV protection and everything like that. She knows nothing about fishing or fishing shirts, but she didn't start that way. She just wanted to have a digital business, and she realised that what she was initially doing wasn't working, and then there was no market for it. And she's discovered that there's a massive, massive market for for fishing shirts, and she's a business owner, and she's making a fortune. And she says, in some ways, it's better that I'm not passionate about fishing because I can make business decisions that are not based on emotion. Never know where life's going to take you. And she pivoted, and
Yeah.
it's working for her.
Yeah, if you want to grow, you have to be open to feedback. And if you're, not willing to admit you're wrong, you're never going to take feedback well, right? You're never going to truly, actually develop like, okay, what was this saying? How can I reflect on that? How can I change? And so it's so important.
Yeah, feedback is the breakfast of champions, and
Well said.
every. Do you have Wheaties in the States?
Yep, we have Wheaties.
Yeah, because
Yes.
that used to be the breakfast of champions, but
Yep, yep, yep.
now it's feedback. I like the analogies with sports people and teams because every team, every successful sports person gets feedback all the time. When you just think about a football game or whatnot, there's so many breaks in there where they're getting feedback and using feedback to be better. They're doing that in such a short, compressed amount of time because they know feedback is the breakfast of champions. And us as individuals, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are studying, whether you are just pursuing a hobby that you love, or you just want to be better, feedback is a way to get you there, isn't it?
Yes. I was, it's so funny you bring up feedback because I was actually talking about this, a podcast shoot I had yesterday. And we were talking about the importance of feedback, but also the importance of when you receive feedback, right? So, I'm going to use college examples here,
Sure.
right? But for example, if my friends and I are going out, I want to hear that you don't like my shirt before we leave the apartment, not when we're at the bar. Because if you tell me that when we're at the bar, I'm going to be self conscious the whole night. If you tell me before we leave, I can change my shirt and now I'm better off, right? So I think that also applies with, whatever goal you're pursuing, or whatever you're getting feedback with, is be very intentional about when you're giving feedback, whether that's a business thing or a relationships thing or a social thing. When you give feedback is a very important part of the process that I think a lot of people who are just starting to use feedback in their life don't realize, and have to kind of learn the hard way and end up offending people.
It's a great example, and it's really good what you did there. 'Cause I don't always do it, and I know that I should, is where when you are talking about one of these personal development or spiritual development principles, you give a really good example so people can really grasp it and understand it. And that is an excellent example about the timing of feedback. Like that shirt, if there's some issue, it's better to give it before
Yes.
you get there than while you're there, because yeah, you can't do much with it if you don't get it early enough in that instance.
Yeah, and I find, touching on what you said about the example, like I try and give everything an example because when I'm reading self-help books, like I pick it up when it's an example, or when I forget in sitting on my bed reading, that's when I'm listening to a really cool story, like really great
Mm.
examples. So for any coaches out there listening, like put your lessons. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows this. It's not a crazy take, but like putting your lessons within stories and giving great examples, like that's how you hold people's attention.
You're reading all the time. You're taking in information all the time. What's lighting your fire at the moment in terms of books that you're reading or people that you're being exposed to? You've touched on a few, but I just thought I'd ask you specifically.
Yes. So I can pull some right here. So my two that I've loved recently were The War of Art. Have you read The War of Art?
No, tell us
Oh,
about
it's
it.
great. It's by Stephen Pressfield, and it's about kind of the inner resistance. So, for example, when you did this podcast, right? Like, I'm sure there was a part of you that was like, "Oh, like I don't know if I want to put this into the world. Like, I might get judged a little bit. I don't know." Like, there's a part of you that says, "Don't do it," right? And like that's a big part of creatives. And I especially felt that as a young person because peer pressure is just a peer opinions is just more prevalent, right? So like I have a TikTok account, right? Like I definitely occasionally, get a hard time for having a TikTok account, right? Or like publishing a book, right? Like that's a scary thing to do. And so this book is kind of all about like the bigger resistance that you feel, the more important is that you do it. So that's a really cool one for creatives, The War of Art. Another one that I've been reading was The Confident Mind, which touches a lot about just like more opinions, more things you can do to kind of perform in stressful situations. I really enjoy those. I think for me, I always read with a highlighter. I think a big thing that a lot of people reading self-help books forget to do is like write stuff down. Like you can read the whole thing and then not remember it, right? Like when I read 10 pages, I don't really remember the 10 pages I read, but I highlight what's important. And then when I'm done, I have a mini book that has, every time I finish a book, I write a 3-page summary of like, all right, here are my key takeaways so that I can go back and relook at it because our memories are not that good, so these two have been great. I'll give you one more, which is, since you were kind of talking about spirituality a little bit, is the Seat of the Soul. Have you ever read this one?
Yeah,
It's
Gary's
a
a
big
good
Oprah
book. Love
book.
it.
Yeah, that one was great, and a great reminder of kind of being aware and kind of bring yourself to the present and looking beyond the physical. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
So
it.
those are a few examples.
I love personal development and spiritual development as well, and how they mix and mingle together sometimes.
Yes.
When I learned that everything starts with a thought, now let's just discount nature for a sec. You could argue about that as well, though. But when you look around you and you see everything, it was someone else's thought at some point. So your thoughts have so much power to create. So you want to be mindful about what you're thinking because you're creating all the time that you are thinking. That just occurred to me when we were talking.
Yeah. And I like to push beyond that one level too, which is I like to think our emotions have a big impact on the thoughts that we have. Right? Like that's like the first chapter of my book is, you know, thoughts are important. Like thoughts are, like you said, the foundation of everything. But the emotions you're feeling have a big impact on your thoughts. If I'm not feeling good, if I'm feeling down, if I'm feeling anxious, right, my thoughts are going to be more negative, generally speaking, right? So emotions don't necessarily lead to specific thoughts, but they change the trend of where your thoughts are going. And so I think, how you're feeling and taking care of yourself emotionally and mentally is a big part of, okay, what thoughts are you having on a daily basis?
Yeah, super powerful. When I read a book by Dr. Wayne Dyer, he said that every emotion begins with a thought. So it could be a bit chicken and egg stuff, right? Because it could be, well, am
It
I
is.
thinking that because of my emotions, or did I have that emotion because I thought that? So it's something to really consider, and maybe in ourselves, just check it out. Next time you're feeling a certain way, was it because of what you thought first, or were you just feeling that way? There might be some other reason. Maybe you saw something that made you feel that way, but the thing is, you probably thought something while you were
Yeah.
looking at that. It's a interesting
Yeah.
thing to.
It's a spiral. It's definitely a spiral of
Yeah.
they directly influence each other
Yep.
and what comes first. Yeah, I agree. But I think the underlying thing there is just being aware of both.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's self awareness. Self awareness. It's magic. Self help, self awareness. I mean, they're cliches, but they're so important if you want to have a great life. That's what I find anyway.
Yes. Self-awareness is the base of everything, right? Like if you could think you're the coolest, most confident, best self-help person in the world, but maybe you just have terrible awareness. You're maybe just a little narcissistic, right? So
Yeah.
being good awareness is very important, especially if you want to keep yourself from embarrassment from time to time.
Now, let's say you stepped into the future and you've achieved a lot of the things that you set out to do already, Nick. But now I want you to go back to the Nick of today, and you're going to give yourself some advice. What's the
Mm.
advice your older self is going to give you right now?
I think the older Nick would say, just stay consistent. I'm going to hit an interesting new world in a year and a half where I enter the actual workforce, right? And this part of my life could very easily get lost. And so I think that Nick will say, don't give up on this, stay consistent. This is a very important part of who you are. I would say that Nick would say, keep an open mind to everything. And I think the funny part about that is most people don't keep an open mind to self-help stuff or entrepreneurial stuff. And I think for me, that's more so keeping an open mind to corporate stuff and the traditional path in a way. And I would say those probably are the two things older Nick would say, you know what, keep those in mind as you move forward.
Great. Well, I think when you do have that different transition, you're at college now, but what I like, I'm sure you've got, a social aspect to college and all the rest of it. But what I love is that you're treating it as well as a place to learn and grow, take action, and start fulfilling on your dreams rather than waiting. I'll do that after college or whatnot. You're doing that now. It's so inspiring to see. Are there other people like that in college, or is it more of just because here, especially here in Australia, we just see college as they probably learn a bit, but it's a big party lifestyle.
Uh, there are, but I could count the amount I know on my hands
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah,
You're definitely it's I think the issue is, right, like the reason I do so much now is like I know this is the easiest it's ever going to be to do it. Like I said it earlier, but like I try and say it all the time of like I have 4 classes, and then I've got 8 hours in my day realistically every day that I could more or less kind of do what I want with, right? So I think the issue is because we have so much time, people think, oh, I'm going to get to that later.
yeah.
Like I don't have to have it figured out now.
Mm.
But like it really needs to be reversed of like, no, if you want to figure it out, now is the time. And there are other people like that, but not a ton.
Right, I see. Nick, so inspiring. It's truly been a conversation for greatness. You've inspired me. I know you inspire others around you for who you are in the world and what you're about. How can people stay in contact and connect with you?
Absolutely. You can find everything about myself on nickbatchelder.com. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and check out my book on Amazon called Crush Your 20s.
I'll have all that in the show notes. Now, music is a big part of my life, and it's a big part of everyone's lives, I guess, because it's often motivational and can help you go that extra step. Sometimes, if you're in a talk is saying I can't be bothered or whatnot, you can put on a great track, and you go, yeah, I'm really going to do it now. So I love to ask all my guests, because I've got a Spotify playlist called Merko Motivation, and all the guests have one song in that playlist in case you want to get pumped up. So what's your song, Nick?
If I want to get pumped up,
Yeah.
I'm going to say this might be a little niche to me, but Middle Child by J. Cole. It was the first ever rap song I ever heard, and I hear that and like I get going. I'm like, yeah, like I'm the man, I can do this. Love that song.
All right. Well, that's going to go on the Spotify playlist, Merko Motivation, for you, Nick. And whenever I hear that song, I'll be thinking of you as well. Thanks so much for being on the show. And you are on the show because you made a decision, you took action, and that theme follows you in your entire life. I can see you have a thought, you take action, and you make shit happen. Nick, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. This has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Anytime, you're always welcome, bud. Thanks for joining us on Rise and Thrive Conversations for Greatness with John Merkus. Remember, you are loved, you are worthy, and you do matter. Embrace the journey of personal growth and motivation. Let's go out there and do something great. Follow or subscribe for more insights and inspiration every Tuesday. Until next time, stay awesome.